Is one of the sisters a murderer? See, like, already that introduces another wrinkle into the story, right? Welcome to Let's Build Wingtorn, where we build a fantasy world using Microscope, which is a collaborative, non-linear role-playing game. But there is a catch. Can you see what it is? That's right, I'm going to be playing Microscope solo. I'll be using it as a structure to flesh out my fantasy world setting in Wingtorn, my fantasy serial podcast. With the help of some RPG supplements, other writing prompts, you get a front row seat to that process, which I hope inspires your own storytelling and your own world building. But Claire, I've never heard of you or your podcast or your fantasy world. That's totally fine. You don't have to have listened to my fantasy podcast or know anything else about me and anything that I've created to enjoy this series. So let's get on back to the table and get into it. So normally when you are playing Microscope, there is a round where you set up a palette. You and the other players decide the yeses and the nos of the world. But I've already gone ahead and done that because this world already exists for me. You also play usually around just to kind of flesh out the world so you're not working with totally nothing. So I've already gone and done that as well. The game begins when you choose a focus for the round. When you're playing Microscope with other people, you would choose a person to go first, and then there's a different lens with a different focus topic. But we're not gonna do that, obviously, because it's just me. All the topics in this bowl have been created, but they're not really fleshed out. So I know what they are, and I'll explain to you what they are, but I really have no idea where this session is gonna go. We could be creating something right now that could show up in a future story or become a major plot point, and that's kind of exciting. So I'm going to choose something from this bowl right now, and that's going to be our lens for the next round, this round that we're going to do right now. I'm a little nervous. I have no idea how this is going to go. All right. Okay, it's happening. Okay, I've chosen it. Can you see it? Can you see what it is? Nope, because it's the wrong way up. Can you see it? Okay. What I have drawn from the hat here is the three sisters. So this is really exciting. I'm really glad that I drew this.
The three sisters lived 400 years ago in a clan settlement on the continent of Drazanian. They were the first humans to ever meet the Fae, at least according to written record. Their peaceful gestures on the beach on that fateful day led to early trade between select human clans and the Fae archipelagos. But then the abductions began. The Fae King ordered humans to be captured for forced labor, entertainment, and study. The humans retaliated. General Hallis, a prominent leader in the war effort against the Fae, eventually married the three sisters and became king and ruler over all humans on the continent.
Yeah, all three of them marry the king. There's polyamory in this world. At least 400 years ago there was.
However, the humans exhaust their resources and know they cannot continue the war. The three sisters, along with their husband, negotiate a ceasefire that leads to peace and prosperity between the two peoples.
They have done a lot and they don't even have names. Like, sometimes this happens when you're world building. You just come up with a really cool idea. Yeah, three sisters meet the Fae, they marry a king, and they negotiate some peace, whatever. But I don't know anything about these women. All right, so let's get started on this round of Microscope with a lens of the three sisters. So in Microscope, we have periods, events, and scenes, and we're probably going to be focusing most on events and scenes. And scenes are nestled in events, and they usually ask a question of the event to get to more specific details. Before I even create an event in Microscope, I think I need to flesh out who these three women are. And this is not what you would typically do in Microscope. This is just basic character development. So I'm gonna break out a specific tool for you. Story Engine, not sponsored, made by my friend Peter. It's great. So why would I use this tool? I think we need a better understanding of who these three sisters are. And I mean, I could make up stuff that they've done. Clearly, I already have. But it's not very useful if I don't have a sense of their personalities. I want them to feel more alive. And the more that I know about them going in, the more that I can actually understand why they do particular things. And I mean, they do seem very cooperative, they seem very aligned, but I don't want to treat these three women like they're one woman, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do first, we're gonna use the agent cards here. The agent cards in the Story Engine, they're kind of like the people or the jobs. And there's really no wrong way to use these cards. They have prompts on them, they're great for instances like these when I just need to quickly understand who a character is, and just kind of come up with different ideas that maybe I wouldn't have thought of on my own. So I'm gonna draw three cards here, maybe generate some ideas of who these three women are. Okay, so each card has 4 prompts on it, and you can use whichever prompt that you like. So the card that I've just drawn here has 4 prompts. There is hillbilly, camp leader, a murderer. Ooh, a murderer. Is one of the sisters a murderer? See, like, already that introduces another wrinkle into the story, right? I could have gone on and created some event or scene or whatever, but not knowing that one of the sisters could be a secret murderer, that changes everything about the story. So this is why we're doing this now. And the other prompt here is a child. Okay, I'm keeping murderer because I think one of the sisters is a murderer. Like, I was convinced that these 3 sisters are basically saints, right? Like, the humans in this world, they consider these 3 sisters, they hold them in high regard. If you are descended from one of these 3 sisters, like, you're basically royalty. Wow, okay, let's draw some more cards. Okay, we've got a politician, a guide, a boss, or again, a leader. Yeah, this doesn't really add any more information. A guide is interesting to me. I interpret this to be one of them is particularly knowledgeable about the forests, because these disparate clans, they were sort of living off the land, and some of them have like established forts and small settlements, but one of the sisters being kind of a ranger type, if you will, makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna keep that. I'm not like in love with it. Let's draw some more cards. Ooh, okay. So the third card that I've drawn here says mage, a trader, T-R-A-D-E-R. I know my accent sometimes might not understand me. An heir, H-E-I-R, or an ardent. A mage is interesting. Now there is magic in this world, and both humans and Fae have access to this magic. The Fae are sort of naturally more magically inclined, but humans do have magical talent as well. It just takes them a lot more study and effort to be good at magic. So it totally makes sense that one of these sisters would have a magical ability. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna draw 1 or 2 more cards because I'm not totally in love with this second card that we've drawn here. Okay. Ooh, all right, so this other card that I've drawn here, the 4 prompts are a slave, a looter, a road warrior, and a junkie. I think this was from like the dystopian pack, but hey, you never know what's gonna come up, right? don't know a junkie. I haven't really established a lot of drugs in this world. And reward doesn't make sense. Okay, let's draw something else. Ooh, okay. This card is a Titan, a Minotaur, so no, a Monster Hunter. Ooh, okay, okay. And an Earth God. Okay, I kind of like Monster Hunter, and I think this builds on the idea that one of these sisters is like a ranger. Her expertise lies in the forest. Monster Hunter is a good specification on that idea, because not only is she good at being in the forest and surviving off the land, her purpose is to probably hunt for her clan, and not just hunt food, but hunt threats. So this is cool. 3 prompts that we have here are murderer, monster hunter, and mage. I also don't know how old what the age difference is between these sisters, but I'm gonna assume, you know, between 2 or 3 years between the 2 of them. I don't want a huge age difference. Oh, murderer. I gotta know more about this murdering sister. Now that I've gotten a little bit more information, I feel comfortable creating events for these sisters in their lives. We're gonna set these cards aside just for a minute because I wanna focus on this murdering sister. I have to know who she murdered, what happened. I think that's going to be an event. So in Microscope, I have 7 turns to flesh out these sisters. So I think for the first turn, we are going to focus on this one of the sisters who is a murderer. And the event is going to be that she murders someone. But who does she murder? And why does she murder? Is she like a cold-blooded killer? Or is it out of defense? Let's do a couple more things to flesh out this particular event. I'm gonna draw some aspect cards, also part of the story engine. Aspect cards have adjectives on them. Let's learn a little bit more about the murdering sister. I'm kind of going on the assumption that she's the oldest sister because she's the first card that I drew. I don't know, it just kind of makes sense to me that she's the eldest of the 3. So let's draw a couple of these aspect cards and see what kind of person she is. Okay, so again, there's 4 prompts that I can choose from. This is a sci-fi one. So we have phasing, digital, black market, and gifted. Okay, I kind of like gifted, but I want to be a little bit more specific. So let's draw another card. We have strong, elemental, true-hearted, and gnomish. I like this idea of the true-hearted murderer. So she's very passionate. She doesn't back down from her convictions. She's convinced that she is right. And no matter what she does it for a very specific, ethical, moral reason. Okay, let's just draw one more to get, ooh, okay. Quiet, bloodthirsty, forbidden, hungry. Well, bloodthirsty is interesting and certainly goes with murderer. It's good to pair 2 sort of opposite ideas together. It kind of creates a tension within the character and helps you avoid cliches in your character development. She's true-hearted. She wants to do what's right. She has a kind of noble sensibility about her. But there's sort of a darkness in that. She will go to whatever means necessary to accomplish her ends. And there's a kind of lust in bloodthirstiness. She will do whatever it takes to ensure that her sisters are protected, her people are protected, and herself is protected. And she kind of likes it. It's always good to give characters a secret. Yeah, she's sort of noble, you know, on the surface. Bit of a goody-goody, maybe. Maybe when she murders for the first time, she gets a rush out of it, right? Oh boy. This is not what I was expecting when I first started this. Okay, this is why I like doing this. Now, as part of this event, we have to discover who's the person that she murders, right? I don't know. Who is this person? Let's return to our agent cards so we can get some ideas. Maybe they're just like an innocent person who did some sort of unknown wrong and just ends up getting murdered for it, right? All right, let's draw some cards. Okay, this is a horror-themed one. A revenant, a plague victim, okay, a poltergeist, and a cult leader. Okay, the two ideas that make me excited about this card are cult leader and plague victim, particularly plague victim. I haven't really established any sicknesses or major sickness events in this world, but this has sparked an idea for me. A person comes to the clan settlement. They are clearly sick and they are requesting help, shelter, food, what have you. There's some debate. Do we let this person in and allow their sickness to maybe spread, or do we turn them away and, you know, they might die? I don't know if they would accept them in if it's that person is sick. Maybe while the clan is debating, you know, do we let this person in? Do we give care but, you know, far away, which would be the most likely solution, to have them some distance from the woods but still give them some supplies so that they can maybe survive. This sister is like, we're definitely not letting this plague victim, this person who is sick, into our community. Maybe she kills them over this. Is that too harsh? That's pretty harsh, right? I don't know, man. Like, having a person come to the community asking for help, and then while they're deciding whether to give help, she just like straight up murders this person. There's gotta be more to this event. Okay, but I think that's enough to create an event. So this would happen before the first contact event, probably a couple of years, I'm gonna say. The eldest sister, a true-hearted, secretly bloodthirsty murderer, kills sick person requesting aid from her clan. So that's enough to create an event. And then in separate scenes, you could ask questions of that event to get more information. And I'm gonna say that it's dark. In Microscope, you choose whether an event is light or dark. There's really no wrong answer here. I think that a murder is dark. I think this particular murder is kind of dark. So we just finished our event creation with the three sisters. We found out that the eldest sister is a murderer. She murdered a sick person for coming to the clan and requesting help, but we don't know really why she murdered this person. So this is a fantastic opportunity to create a scene in Microscope. So in Microscope, scenes ask questions of events. And the particular question of this scene is, why did the eldest sister murder this plague victim? And by answering this question, we have a complete scene. Now, normally in Microscope, you have a couple options when you're playing with other people. You can role play the scene, you can create characters and act out that scene, or you can dictate the scene, telling everybody what happened. So obviously that's what I'm gonna do, but I think this is a great opportunity to pull out some other cards that we have here in the story engine. In particular, the engine cards here. Now, the engine cards in Story Engine, they're kind of like the motivations. When you assign them to agents, well, it gives that character a compelling motivation for the story. And I think it makes sense to do that here, because I want to know what overall is driving this true-hearted, bloodthirsty murderer sister. I mean, sure, she's bloodthirsty, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's just gonna go kill random people, necessarily. I think she probably sees this plague victim. I keep calling plague victims because that's what we have here on the card. I think that this person represents some kind of specific threat to the community or to herself or her sisters. This scene will help clarify what that threat is, but it's important to know her motivation so that we know why she's threatened. All right, so let's draw some cards here and see what we can come up with. All right. Okay, so this first card that I've just drawn, you read this as a person wants to solve a murder and their only lead is, or wants to frame or implicate a rival. So there's two prompts on the cards and you choose. This is sort of funny because you could read this as the murdering sister wants to implicate a rival, and that's like why she murders this sick person. Oh, okay, actually that kind of works. It's not just that she is true-hearted and she has this strong moral center. Maybe she feels such loyalty to her clan that she thinks her clan is like superior to all other clans. Maybe this sick person is from a rival clan that they are competing with for resources. And maybe she knows this person or is related to a person that she is a rival of. And when this sick person comes to the clan demanding resources after they've worked so hard to gather them, maybe it's like winter, or maybe they've all been having a really tough time, and this sick person comes to the clan and demands help, and she sees that as an affront. So the question of this scene is, why does the eldest sister murder this sick person? I kind of like this idea that this sick person is from a rival clan. She does not like them. Maybe they have wronged her in the past. Okay, I think that might be enough to answer the scene. It's very tempting, especially for me, to really go in deep and try and answer every single question and every single thread. But when you're playing a game like Microscope, the goal of the scene is to answer the question. And once that question is answered, the scene is over. And so I could like go on and on here and try and tease out every thread. But really, you're supposed to just focus on one thing at a time. So the question is, why did this bloodthirsty sister murder this sick person? The answer is that they're from a rival clan, and she sees that as justice served. I think that's a good enough answer for now, and we can kind of tease out who this rival clan is in a separate scene. And it's also a good idea when you are creating these scenes to kind of think about it as like chapters or an actual cinematic scene. I'm picturing it like this. The clan agrees to help this sick person, but they've put this person in the woods, far enough away from the settlement so that there's no transmission of sickness, but close enough that any healers of the settlement could make the trek to go help this person. They've constructed some kind of temporary shelter. Maybe they're using some already existing shelter to house this person. So the sick person has settled in for the night. They're lying in their bed, they're coughing, when suddenly the sister, she sneaks into the hut, into this temporary shelter, and it's very quiet. And there's the sounds of the forest, maybe an owl, and the sick person, who's just sort of drifting off into another fitful sleep, they open their eyes and they kind of sit up a bit. They're listening for predators, and there's silence except for the sounds of the forest. And they think, okay, it's nothing. I'm delusional from my sickness. And just as they're about to drift back off to sleep, the sister, you can see her face coming in from the darkness behind the sick person and slits their throat. Oh, that's so gross. Oh no, I didn't mean to get too gross. And maybe she like whispers in this person's ear, that's what you get for messing with me and my people. Oh no, I didn't mean to make her so mean. What's gonna happen next? I honestly don't know, but why don't you stick around to find out?